you have a legal obligation, if your house is broken into, to report it to the police. Why do we have a system that has made it illegal for you to keep money in your couch?
The Democratic Alliance has reiterated its stance that it wants to hold President Cyril Ramaphosa accountable for the donation that he received from Bosasa.
If it is illegal for you to receive cash without knowing where the cash came from, that means every time anyone gives you cash, you're wrong.
This is the political show.
They create a big stink and a whole hullabaloo about stuff that's not important. And the important things just go by unnoticed.
Hey, and welcome to the political show right here on Active FM, where radio has never been better. I'm your girl Cynthia, but you know you can call me Gix, and with me in studio we have
Gavin Enslin.
Pastor Gavin Enslin, right here on the political show where Christ politics is
Hot politics.
hot politics. And this week's hot politics, we are speaking about something that maybe you might have forgotten about, maybe it was in the back of your mind, but it is back on the headlines. And this is the Phala Phala situation that happened with Cyril Ramaphosa. And if you don't know what happened, $580,000 in cash, all right? This is not something that was in the bank. This is cash, physical cash, was hidden inside a couch in our president's private farm, game farm in Limpopo, and it was stolen. Yeah. So yes, it was a lot of money being hidden in a couch out of all places, but it was stolen in 2020. And obviously there's just been a whole lot of controversy that has happened around that scandal, and questions like, why keep that much money? Was it declared properly with SARS? Why wasn't it handled normally? And all of these things. And we're going to be speaking about the recent court. What's the word? What word am I looking for?
Judgment.
The recent court judgment in terms of this case. It's going to be interesting. Pascal, do you want to give a more brief explanation?
Look, it's something that we've discussed before. In fact, Gigs, there was once we were talking about this, and we were talking about Phala Phala.
Yeah.
Remember?
I remember the first time.
Yes, and then we were corrected.
By Black Knight.
Phala Phala.
Yes.
So, if you go and watch or listen to one of our past episodes, then you hear us pronouncing Phala Phala, Phala Phala, then we apologize for our past indiscretions. But obviously the ATM party and the EFF took Parliament to court over a vote that took place in December 2022, not to follow the recommendations of the report into Phala Phala, the parliamentary report, which was proposing, an impeachment hearings, and the Parliament then voted that down under their rules, and the Constitutional Court ruled that the Parliament's rules, that allowed them to not proceed with the impeachment hearings were unconstitutional. And the Constitutional Court now last week ruled that Parliament has to allow the impeachment inquiry to go forward. And then on Monday night, Cyril Ramaphosa, in an address to the nation, stated that he will not resign, and he's going to take the report on review, which he was going to do at the time. And he stopped the review process due to the fact that Parliament voted against the, taking the matter further. And so, we're gonna be discussing, the problems relating to Phala Phala that people aren't talking about.
Yeah.
Because there are certain issues that people aren't talking about, and we're actually going to discuss that today. Gigs, imagine having $580,000 in your couch.
In your couch, like. Yeah.
It's about 6.5 to 7 million rand.
My little cousin will say, I would be up. I don't know what that means, but I feel like it works in the situation.
Well, I'll say I would be up for that.
That is what we're going to be talking about. It's going to be awesome, as always, right here on the political show where Christ politics is
hot politics.
Hot politics. So we are speaking about the Phala Phala scandal. And why has it become a scandal? Is because there's possible legal violations, possible abuse of power, and possible cover-up. And if we look at what just happened, we see that the Constitutional Court ruled that Parliament acted unlawfully in 2022 and they had blocked a proper impeachment process. The system may have protected our President Ramaphosa, back then, and now is being forced to revisit that decision, and that the Section 89 impeachment process is back on the table. And if you're not sure what the Section 89 process is, but it basically states that if President Cyril Ramaphosa was successfully impeached under Section 89 of the Constitution of South Africa, he would be removed from office immediately. So this is nothing small. This is something really, really big, right? There would be no transition period, and he's out the moment Parliament votes. He would also lose all the benefits normally given to him as former president, like pension and the perks and all of those things, and he could possibly be banned from holding any public office again in the future. And on top of that, impeachment doesn't protect him from the law, so he could still face criminal charges or further investigation if there's evidence of wrongdoing. Meanwhile, the country would need to vote in a new president who would be elected by the National Assembly of South Africa among its members. So this is something that is quite big. So if we look at the process, it would mean there would be a motion, there would be a panel, inquiry, and then a vote, and he would need 2/3 of the majority to keep him in, I guess. And yeah, so what was his response? Pastor Gavin did speak about it. So he basically on the 11th of May had a family meeting, and that's basically when he has his speeches. And he basically said that he will not resign. Obviously, a lot of people expected him to resign with this whole situation, but he was very clear and firm about it, and was basically the headline statement of his speech. He also mentioned, and this is me quoting from the transcript of his speech that you can find on the government site, that he said, "I respect the judgment of the Constitutional Court." He also said, I have never acted in violation of the Constitution or the law, and I will challenge the findings as I believe they are flawed. So obviously he's willing to fight for his position, I guess, and he's basically standing on 2 feet, saying that he didn't do anything wrong, that $580,000, guys, it's not rands, right? It's $580,000. And he's saying that there is nothing wrong with that money. It was purely, transactional money from Buffalo and game that was bought from him. So that's basically where we're at with the situation and what's happening. Pastor Gav, do you want to go let us know your thoughts?
Yeah, so obviously they're talking now, and the term is the Phala Phala scandal. All right? So if we're going to basically, reduce this thing to its core element, Cyril Ramaphosa is guilty. Are you listening?
Mm-hmm.
He's guilty. Are you sure you're listening?
I'm listening.
He's guilty of being, having a home robbery.
That's crazy.
Being broken into.
That is crazy.
Okay, and then they stole a couch out of his house. Okay, so when you're talking Phala Phala scandal, I want you just to remember what we're talking about.
Yeah.
This guy was robbed. So now they're saying, okay, the first law that he broke, right, is that he never reported it to the nearest police station.
Okay.
So, Gigs, who reports every time they've been broken into to the police station?
Like 30% of the people.
No, I'm telling you now, the only people that report a break-in are those who are insured. If you are insured,
true.
you report it because you need a case number.
That's actually
for
true,
the
not
claim.
For anything else. Not
No,
because you expect it
you
to
don't
be...
expect the cops to do anything about it.
Yeah.
So, how many South Africans have not been broken into?
Sure.
So, every South African that has been broken into right there with that statement, and we want to take a bit of a deeper dive into what people are saying. People just glibly say Ramaphosa was wrong, Ramaphosa was wrong. And, I'm not saying he was right. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is the first thing is he never reported it to the police station. So in other words, now you have a legal obligation, if your house is broken into, to report it to the police. And if you don't report it to the police, you're doing something wrong. Does that sound right to you, geeks?
No.
Because that's what they're saying. The second thing is, okay, all right, and we've mentioned it before on the show. Ramaphosa had $580,000 in his couch. Now, people are saying that's illegal. I'd like to ask you, why is that illegal? In fact, I'd like to ask Ramaphosa why that's illegal. Why do we have a system that has made it illegal for you to keep money in your couch or under your mattress? Why now does the money have to go through a bank? Surely if it's my money, I can put the money anywhere that I want to. Gigs, why is no one asking that question? We're so blindly led by the media.
Yeah.
We're so blindly led by social media personalities and, lawyers and all sorts of people like that. Why is it illegal to keep cash in your couch? Then they start talking about foreign exchange regulations, okay? And there's something else now that they're saying. It is my responsibility. If you pay me cash for something, I now have the legal responsibility to know where you got that cash from.
That doesn't make sense.
That's what they're saying. A friend of mine, they wanted to sell a property. And someone wanted to come pay with suitcases of cash. And they were going to receive the cash. And the lawyers told them not to, because if that cash is gained from criminal activities, then the police can come and take that cash, the cash you got for the sale of your property back from you. So why are you, if someone owes you and they have to pay you for something, whether they're buying a building or like as Mr. Ramaphosa, or President Ramaphosa claims, they're buying game stock from him or whatever people are buying from you, why should it be your responsibility to know where that cash came from? Why are you responsible? Why is it irresponsible to accept payment from someone that owes you money? Now, if Ramaphosa is responsible to know where that cash came from, that was in his couch, then if someone pays you 100 Rand because they bought an old cell phone from you, the police can come after you for that. If that's illegal, if it is illegal for you to receive cash without knowing where the cash came from, that means every time anyone gives you cash, you're wrong.
Doesn't it also go against the POPI law? Like you don't have to disclose, because I know with the POPI Act that
it protects your data.
It protects your data. So something like salary, if you're in an interview and the recruiter asks you what is your current salary, you don't have to tell them that, and that's salary wise. Now imagine cash. I don't have to tell you because it's my private information, and the POPI law protects me to say that I don't have to tell you where this comes from because it's something that's private to me.
Yeah,
so,
and let me tell you why this is an issue. We in the church have had people that have been turned down, for home loans and things because the bank said you're tithing. So people have had loans that I know in our church have had loans turned down because they're tithing.
That's crazy.
What business of the bank is it if you tithe? So don't just say, but if you've got nothing to hide, what's the problem? Okay, the banks see it as you being irresponsible if you tithe. And they're saying if you tithe, you won't pay them back. Now, I would like to say that in my view, if you tithe, you're less likely to fail to pay them back for the money that you're loaning from.
That is so true.
Okay, so do you really want that responsibility? That now, every time someone pays you, you have to know that that money that they're paying you with came from a legal source. So what that now means is you are forced to put your money in the bank.
Mm.
And then the bank freezes your bank account because of not having what they call FICA documents, FRCI, the Financial Intelligence
And they
something
have a
Act.
tendency of only messaging you after.
No, you
they've
find
blocked.
out. I recently had a situation where I found out because I couldn't get into the online banking.
Mm.
I know your account's frozen because of FICA. So now all of a sudden, the bank, for any reason that they decide, can freeze your money. The government, for any reason, can decide that they can freeze your money. Your money's not your money.
Mm.
And now they're saying it's wrong for you to keep your money under your mattress. Surely if the bank can do that to you, it is your choice as to whether you keep your money in the bank or not.
Mm.
Not only that, I think it was in 2011, my wife and I did a series on the end times. And we were talking about the mark of the beast and the fact that your ability to buy and sell will be stopped.
Mm.
Well, guess what example we used? The banking crisis just before we did the series had happened in Cyprus at the time.
Mm.
And so what happened was that because of this banking crisis, what the Cypriot government did was to say everyone that has deposits of over 100,000 euros is going to take what they called a haircut. So anything over 100,000 euros you had in your account, the government took it to be able to put it into the banks to resolve the banking crisis. So your money is not safe in the bank. People say your money is not safe in your couch. It's true, someone can come in and break in and steal it. But here's the thing. Those guys that broke into Ramaphosa's farm, Phala Phala farm, they were committing a crime when they got that cash.
Yeah.
The banks can take your cash and they're not even committing a crime.
Mm.
They can take bank charges from you, and that's not a crime. So the other thing, they spoke about, foreign exchange. So I thought the entire liberation struggle was about freedom. So now we're talking about foreign exchange controls. So was this money declared when it was brought into the country, these dollars? So since when is it illegal for me to receive payment of something from someone in US dollars? Okay, you're restricting my freedom when you say that. And why is it my business if that person's paying me for something, they owe me the money? Why is it my business as to did you go through the proper foreign exchange controls? Why is it that if I want to exchange money at a bank or a money changer, I have to declare where I got this money from? If I go and I want to deposit R1 million in my bank account, I have to explain to the bank where I got the money from. Because the South African Constitution, the last time I checked, guarantees my right to privacy to such an extent that if I do an illegal act, which is to grow a marijuana plant in my back garden at my house, the police are not allowed to come in and do anything, because by coming into my back garden, the police are violating my constitutional right to privacy.
Mm.
This was found in a court of law in South Africa about 10 years ago.
Mm.
So now all of a sudden, now my right to privacy, which is where I got cash from, is out the window. And you mentioned about the Poppy Act. So, you collect data from people. There's all sorts of risks you take because you're violating the sanctity of their data. So why do I have to explain to you where I got the money from? The law is a contradiction in terms. And I'm listening to this whole thing. And I mean, Ramaphosa's guilty, and they're calling it the scandal centers on a burglary in the president's Phala Phala game farm. All right. Now, Arthur Fraser was one of the guys. He's the guy that first brought to light this entire thing. He went and pressed charges in a police station for this whole thing. At the end of the day, it only came out 2 years after the thing happened. Why did it come out 2 years later?
Mm.
Arthur Fraser was linked to previous President Jacob Zuma. So there's actually a political story going on here. And so then Ramaphosa involves private security firms.
Yeah.
So now if I get a private investigator to investigate a burglary that happened in my house, because the police aren't going to investigate it. That's why we only go and report that our house has been broken into if we're going to claim. If we're not going to claim, we don't bother. So now I want to get a private investigator to go and investigate where my stuff is. I want to get my armed response company or the security company, whatever. Then all of a sudden that now becomes a crime. The only crime that sticks for me in this whole saga is the fact that it is claimed that he used government people paid by the government to sort out his own personal burglary without going through police channels. Okay, so what we're saying is, if he had gone to the local Phala Phala, I don't know what the nearest police station there, but let's just say the local Phala Phala police station. If he had gone and laid a case, so what, this whole thing goes away?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I think it would have even made it worse. Would have been
Now,
a bigger
obviously
scandal.
the claim is, Gigs, the claim is that this money was going to be used to bribe delegates at the 2022 ANC conference to elect the ANC president.
But they don't know that. It's just a claim.
It is a claim, and it's it's something that is definitely plausible. But whether it's true or not, it hasn't been proved in a court of law that that's what the money was for.
Yeah.
They were claiming that it was going to go into brown envelopes to give to delegates to get them to vote for Ramaphosa.
But again, it is just a claim, and it's just now. Obviously, we understand how ANC works. We understand how government works in South Africa and things like that. But they don't know for sure whether or not this would have happened.
Yeah. I mean, you can't talk about it as a scandal.
Yeah.
Even though we think there's a great likelihood that that was the case, and they needed piles of cash, so it couldn't be traced back to the overseas donors.
Yeah, I think I want to ask one more question. So let's say he gets removed.
Just to mention, to get impeached, 2/3 of the parliament has to vote to impeach him. So there'll be a whole trial in parliament, and all of that sort of stuff.
Let's say he gets then removed. Obviously, then Paul Mashitile would become the acting president, and then the National Assembly would elect a new president. Do you think that that's what they're trying to do, to get a new president in place? Obviously, with the GNU, who would then take position. I kind of have this feeling that it's more than just, okay, the process has to happen. I kind of feel like it's more than that. It's beyond. They want to get him out of the presidency and stuff. That's just a thought. That's just a feeling. I don't know if it's true, but when you look at this whole case, that's where my thinking is going towards. What are your thoughts on that?
There very definitely is a possibility that this is just an effort to try and get him, out of office. As far as I'm concerned, when I look at even the report, the parliamentary report that came out, first of all, there's some of the things that they are alleging are a crime, as I've mentioned earlier, that I have a fundamental issue with, and I have a question, why are South Africans not asking the question? Because these so-called crimes are actually stripping your freedom away, because remember, you're under the same laws as this president is. People are not asking these questions. And, if the president goes, Gigs, I don't know who's going to take over. I think it's going to cause great instability within the country right now.
Yeah.
If this president goes. So, if that's a good idea or not, I actually don't know. So, but, obviously if he's guilty or whatever, but guilty of what?
Because I'm thinking,
fundamentally, my issue is, I'm not happy with the so-called crimes they're saying he's committed. I'm not happy that those are crimes. I don't like those laws. And I don't believe that every South African, if they really sat there and thought it through, I don't think they'd like those laws. If someone comes here and pays you cash for your house, they give you a briefcase full of cash. The lawyers will tell you mustn't take it because you don't know where it came from. It could have been the proceeds of crime. And if it's the proceeds of crime, then later on the cops can come and take that money from you. Are you okay to be living in a country like that?
Yeah, because I'm thinking of the similar thing. Did that not happen with Jacob Zuma? Obviously, it was the whole thing with Nkandla and stuff like that. But didn't that scandal lead to his removal from presidency? Was it not a vote of no confidence, of zero confidence? Is that what it's called?
No, what happened was that Ramaphosa won the 2017 ANC election.
Okay.
And once him and his connections took over, the ANC recalled Jacob Zuma. He was never impeached. There was never a motion of no confidence against him. He was not removed by Parliament.
Okay.
Jacob Zuma resigned under instruction from the ANC, the African National Congress.
Yeah. Something similar. I mean, it's these scandals and stuff like that that put people in a position where either they resign, where they are taken out forcefully. But in Luke chapter 16 verse 10, it says, whoever is faithful in very little is also faithful in much, and whoever is dishonest in very little is also dishonest in much.
Yeah, so in my view, there are things that I've heard that Ramaphosa, President Ramaphosa has done that in my view, if true, are far more serious. Things that he's done. For example, I've heard claims of certain maneuvers that have been made within the petroleum industry in order to get control to himself and his family of the petroleum industry in South Africa. Same with there's been accusations about maneuvers that have happened behind the scenes, to get into to get under their control. Him and family members, that is, the electricity generation in South Africa. So, those are things that I'd far rather see being probed than Phala Phala. Those are much more serious issues, if they're true. And looking at this now, we need to get back to the Bible. They create a big stink and a whole hullabaloo about stuff that's not important. And the important things just go by unnoticed. And so I want to encourage you, before you make comments or before you put things up on social media or before you form opinions, I want to encourage you to read the Word. Read the Word so that you know the Word. Because it's only when you know the Word of God that you really know right from wrong. All right, I look at this Phala Phala thing, and to me this is a political fight that's going on between different factions of the ANC, and obviously the ANC is now split. It's now ANC and Nkonto Esizwe and EFF, three parties that came out of the ANC, and these are personal vendettas that are going on here. So Jacob Zuma wants to get Cyril Ramaphosa back for putting him out of power. I believe Jacob Zuma wants to get Cyril Ramaphosa out of power. Now, whether he deserves to be put out of power or not, I'm not making a judgment on that. I'm just saying, with the things that are being said about him, what does it mean for you and my freedom? I just also want to mention, this is why it's important, be in a church and know the Bible. Because at the end of the day, if you don't know the Bible, you're going to be swayed by different opinions, and you're going to be like a wave in the sea which is tossed to and fro by the winds. You're going to be double-minded and unstable in all your ways, as the book of James says. And so I really want to encourage you, form your views based on the Word of God.
Yeah. Amen. This has been an amazing show. As always, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm your girl Cynthia, but you can call me Gix. And with me in studio we've had
Gavin Insland.
Pastor Gavin Insland, right here on The Political Show, where Christ politics is
Hot politics.
Hot politics.
This is The Political Show.